Okay. It's gonna be 5 o'clock soon.
Somewhere.
Yeah, here.
Hey, Joe.
Okay, Jim, you ready?
Yep.
We're ready. We'll go.
We are live. It is 16:08. Due to some technology issues, we're starting a little bit late this afternoon, but all is good to go at this point. And with that, good afternoon. As Chairman of the Wolfeboro Police Commission, I am declaring that an emergency exists and that I'm invoking the provisions of RSA 91-A:2, 3, parentheses B. Federal, state, and local officials have determined that gatherings of 10 or more people pose a substantial risk to our community. The usual rules of conduct and decorum apply. Any person found to be disrupting this meeting will be asked to cease the disruption. Should the disruptive behavior continue, thereafter that person will be removed from this meeting. Please note that all votes that are taken during this meeting shall be done by roll call vote. So let's start with a roll call attendance. When each member states their name, please state whether there is anyone in the room with you during this meeting, which is required under the right to know law. Commissioner O'Brien. All right, Commissioner Balboni, where are you?
The hell is that noise? You hear that, Steve? What the hell?
Now we got Bob. Everybody know what that sound is?
I don't know what the hell is.
It's gone. It's done. Okay. Commissioner O'Brien, state where you are and if anybody's with you.
I'm at my residence and no one is here.
Okay. Commissioner Balboni?
Nobody with me.
Okay. Commissioner Wood is broadcasting live in his camper in Lincoln. My wife may be in or out during the public session of the meeting. Chief Rondo?
I'm alone in my study in my house in Wolfeboro.
Okay. Captain Livy?
Yeah, I'm on my back deck. I'm alone.
Okay. And Sherry?
Alone in my office.
Okay. All right. At this time, I will entertain a consideration on the minutes of June 25th, 2020. Do we have a movement on that?
I move they be accepted as presented.
Okay. Do we have a second? Joe? I can't hear Joe. Is he on?
Yeah, yes.
He's on, but his mic is muted.
Oh. He's on his phone. It shouldn't be muted, but.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'll second that motion. And then I'll take a roll call vote. Commissioner O'Brien?
Aye.
Commissioner Balboni? Commissioner Wood is a yes also. Hopefully we'll regain audio with Commissioner Balboni. Chief, if you want to proceed with the report at this time.
Thank you. Yes, that'll be good. So, gentlemen, if you refer to the first slide in your slide deck, incident cases year to date, you'll see we're down 11% from 50 in May to 39 in June. I think that's probably due to a lot of reasons, but one was some of it was due to inclement weather, and then I think some of it is also due to the unrest that's been occurring all across the country and the Northeast, as well as spikes in COVID-19. Of those 39 incidents, we had 43 offenses. So multiple offenses occurring within some of those incident events. Going to the next slide in the slide deck, arrest year to date, we were down from 20 arrests in May to 16 in June. That's a 4% decrease. And I think that's also attributed to basically the same reasons that I mentioned earlier for incidents. And there was a slight drop off in activity in June for a variety of reasons that I already mentioned. You have the incident, or correction, you have the arrest data by officer and offense. If you wanted to drill down, that's in the backup data for your packets. The next slide in your slide deck, gentlemen, is traffic stops year to date. We're up from 81 in May to 125 in June. That's an increase of 54.31%. A lot of that is due to increased presence in crime suppression efforts that we have undertaken since the coming out, if you will, of the whole COVID-19 pandemic, and as we started to open up the town, we have gone back to basically business as usual with precautions taken. So that explains the increase from May until June. As usual, gentlemen have the drill down data in your packets if you wanted to see where those stops were conducted. Collisions year to date for 2020, we were up from 7 in May to 18 in June. That's a 157% increase. And I think with some of that is due to the inclement weather that we've had, and also increase in traffic patterns as people started to come back up to Wolfeboro and open up camps and summer homes and so forth and so on. The slide for if you wanted to, for those crashes occurred by number, you have that as in your background data, backup data, and there's no mystery as to where they're occurring. Basically on Center Street and North and South Main Street. The next slide in your slide deck is going to be the officer personnel analysis report. This is going to break down every officer in the Wolfeboro Police Department by activity, and that includes everything from incidents, arrests, to citations, and assists in those matters as well. Also, in there is our traffic control officer, who I will say is doing a very good job in the very busy downtown area. And I'm getting lots of compliments. He's very helpful and he's very active. Mr. Chairman, with your permission, I'll move into the monthly detectives report.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Yep. All right. So a monthly activity report for the detective for June of 2020. 9 cases were carried over from May 2020. For the month of June, Detective Emerson investigated 5 new cases. The cases below represent all the incident reports and arrest reports for the month of June. 2 cases were investigated as felonies and 3 cases were investigated as misdemeanor level. At the end of June, Detective Emerson has 8 cases still under investigation. Detective Emerson was able to close out previous pending cases that had carried over from last month. Additionally, Detective Emerson has been also working patrol shifts rather than detective duties to help out with shift coverage as we work on getting our new hires up to speed. So that's a very important point. He's been very instrumental in helping us get through this personnel shortage. As and just a caveat, most folks know that we had 1 officer transfer and 2 retirees. We're working a little short-handed right now, and Detective Emerson has come out of the detective role and has been helping us cover shifts. So we're greatly appreciative to him for doing that. Unfortunately, what that does is that slows down some of the casework that he's doing. But we'll get this squared away in the coming months. Detective Emerson worked on a runaway child case that came to him directly. Detective Emerson was able to use the street level context to help locate the runaway. Was found safe in Ossipee, and he is now back at home, safe and sound, with his family. So that's a good news story, and Detective Emerson does a phenomenal job. Cases assigned and investigated this past month was 1 theft, 1 overdose attempted, 1 sexual assault, 1 runaway, and 1 breaking and entering. Percentage of cases closed this month is 84%. Percentage of new cases closed by arrest during the month is 0. And percentage of entire case closed year to date is 69%. So those are actually pretty good numbers for only being halfway through the year. Moving on to the chief's items, with your permission, Mr. Chairman, I'll get into that.
One question, 1 second, Chief.
Sure.
Captain, do we have a link for non-public for this meeting after?
Yes, it should be in the
Okay.
same meeting.
Oh, okay. I just didn't. Okay.
Just
Please continue, Chief.
Sure, thank you. So I have 1 item for non-public session under personnel and pending litigation.
Okay.
General budget items. After the presentation of the chief's items, we'll take a very short break and then move right into the end of 2nd quarter budget review and analysis. So please see the attached budget sheets attached to the commission report package, and you gentlemen all have that went out earlier last week. Personnel Officer Martineau's last day was 30 June. She's now with Alton PD. Officer Jason Boucher was hired in her place and is doing just fine as he works his way through a modified FTO process. He will be on his own shortly. And Officer Shanks is now about 2/3 of the way through the police academy, and he's doing very well. So we're slowly getting back up to speed. So that's a good news story there. Operations, criminal investigations and prosecutions. And this falls into a broader term that I call crime suppression. So this is very, very important thing that I just want to bring to the public's attention, that the Wolfeboro Police Department is very engaged in crime suppression. We're in the neighborhoods, we're actively on patrol, and this is some of the fruits of the labor that you'll see right here. So in terms of police investigation, June provided us with the opportunity to get caught up on several investigations. This is reflected in the arrest status report. We continue to work closely with our local, county, state, and federal partners in a host of different investigative efforts. Please see the detective's report for more information. In terms of police prosecutions this past month, we were slow due to COVID-19 precautions that are taking place in the courts. This past month, we had 15 defendants on to 18 charges. Of those charges, 14 were found or pled guilty, and 4 were placed on file with good behavior counseling and restitution order to the victims. The conviction rate is 100%. This past month, 100%, with just over $5,000 of fines meted out, and that included also restitutions and penalties. So, folks, crime doesn't pay, and that's a good news story. 100% conviction rate. That's very good. Safety and security matters. As we get into the coming summer months, please be mindful of the school children who are now out of school and out in the public doing things and activities that kids like to do, such as bike riding, swimming, and playing. Please be mindful and drive slowly in town and our neighborhoods. Thank you. Dispatch, we've opened up the lobby and access to the dispatch window. We have taken and followed the state and federal government CDC guidelines in this regard, and have placed a window microphone in the window to help prevent the spread of COVID-19. So that's an amplifying device. So somebody just needs to speak into that, and their voice will be projected into the dispatch center. And this is a new addition to the dispatch window lobby. So as folks come in, they'll see that, and they'll just speak into the microphone. Motor vehicle enforcement. In an effort to mitigate the traffic crashes we realized on a monthly basis and have seen an increase this past month, up to 157% from last month, which last month was a jump of 250%. We will be conducting a strong proactive approach to motor vehicle enforcement in the coming months. Traffic stops will now be conducted again in earnest as I've relaxed the protocols I had put in place for COVID-19 response. However, it is important to realize that we as a town went from 7 crashes to 18 crashes. Though we are increasing, the increase is a modest spike due to the summer months upon us and the town opening. We are deploying assets and patrols to identify problem areas. Safety first. More to the point, as I've said before, speed and traffic crashes and issues continue to be a problem in our community. Please pay attention to the posted speed limits on our town roads, and please drive safely. Speed complaints represent some of the most common quality of life issues we receive at the PD. Please be courteous of your friends and neighbors and don't speed. We will be monitoring our roads very carefully, especially on our high traffic roads such as North-South Main Street, Center Street, and 109 East. If you're speeding, please slow down. The life you save may be your own. That being said, the department is continuing its enhanced speed enforcement operations in the following areas: Laner Street, Forest Road, Cotton Valley Road, College Road areas, Beach Pond Road with a focus on the area between Pine Hill Road and North Line Road, Center Street, North Main Street, 109 East, Bay Street, and Sewell Road. Also added to this list today was Pleasant Valley Road, as we're receiving some complaints of speeders out on Pleasant Valley Road. So if you're out in that area and you like to go fast, pay attention, because there's going to be patrol units out there. The reason for these speed enforcement operations is due to citizen complaints and data collected and analyzed by our radar trailer. We will continue our efforts in these areas until we are sure that the speeds have come down. If you travel these roads, please be mindful of the posted speed limits. Training, there was nothing significant to report. Dispatch, there's nothing significant to report. Matters in outreach and matters of interest, both the captain and I have met with concerned citizens regarding a wide range of issues and community involvement topics. Additionally, both the captain and I have met with the county attorney's new investigator. They've hired a law enforcement investigator who is now assigned to the county attorney's office. That's former Chief Christopher Warren from the town of Campton. I know Christopher personally. He is a very good hire. We had a great conversation today. And I know a couple of weeks ago, the captain had a very nice conversation with him. So we're expecting great things from him up at the county attorney's office. And I know he's going to be an asset, not just to us and all the other surrounding communities, but to the county attorney's office as well. Both the captain and I attend a wide range of budget meetings with various groups and committees as we proceed through the budget process. Both the captain and I spoke on Wolfeboro Community TV this past month on matters of public interest. The captain and I continue to be regulars at the men's breakfast, which is to say when we have them.
Yeah.
And then the captain continues to be part of the master planning process, the technical review of joint loss committees. And lastly, please be our guest with coffee on Coffee and Connections with the chief. Safety tip of the month, summertime. Yes. Did somebody have a question?
No, I just wanted to interject something, but go ahead and finish.
Sure. Summertime driving. Driving in the rain as the summer is upon us, flash thunderstorms and summer rain storms can produce strong downpours. During these weather events, excess water can pond on the roadway surfaces. When this occurs, it is easy for a vehicle to hydroplane. Water builds up on the bottom of the tires and reduces the tires' contact with the pavement. It's called hydroplaning. When this happens, all you need to do is take your foot off the accelerator. Do not mash the brake, so don't depress the brake. Taking your foot off the accelerator will drop the vehicle center of mass slowly but quickly enough for you to regain control of the vehicle. The dropping of the vehicle center of mass will push the water up from the bottom of the tire's treads, causing the tire to regain contact with the pavement. Strong braking will cause the vehicle to go into an immediate skid and yaw, which you cannot recover from. So you'll lose steering ability right away. So again, when you feel yourself hydroplaning, folks, just take your foot off the gas, let the vehicle drop its center of mass. That's exactly what that does. It will happen very quickly, but slowly enough for you to maintain control of the vehicle. And that's all you need to do. Okay, budget analysis. Why don't we just take a real quick break here, and then I'll go into the budget analysis. Bob, you had something you wanted to say?
Yeah, I just wanted to make an observation that my wife and I were in town, and we saw two young boys on bicycles riding without helmets. We then observed Officer Strzok stop those two, and he was out of the vehicle with his mask on, talking to him. I understand subsequently to talking with him that he provided a helmet from his vehicle, and then also was able to come up with a second helmet, and then adjusted them for them. Now, I want to commend this for the entire department to have things like that on hand, to be able to have that as an outreach service, and that it shows to the community the concerns we have for the safety of young people riding, and that in this day where everybody wants to defund the police and harsh criticism, an example like this done by any officer goes towards the whole heart of community policing. And so I spoke personally with Mike about it and commended him myself, but I thought I'd just mention this. I know it was on Facebook, but this is a more formal means to do so.
That is, that was definitely a good news story, and I'm glad you did that. And I did speak to Michael myself personally, and told him what a great job that was. So that was nice to see. And of course, the fire chief was helping us catch our people doing the right thing, which is always good. And he was the one that shot that photo. And of course, he was in my office a couple of days ago saying what a nice job Michael had done. So we're of course very proud of Sergeant Strzok, and he's doing a great job, by the way. So I was in fact, I had him in the meeting today with me for a goodly while, talking to Chief Warren during that meeting as he was down from the county attorney's office, because I know Mike had some good things that he had wanted to pass on, some good observations and concerns from the patrol division. I thought it was important for Chief Warren to hear that. So that was good. So,
I'm just sorry. Personally, when I was on the police department, I was the representative to the governor's task force as New Jersey adopted those safety regulations for people with helmets, and I taught it in my town. And so it's especially important to me. And as a longtime biker, again, it's good to see it here.
I got Joe on my phone wanting them to say something. I know he's having a little problem with his mute, but I'm hoping you can hear him. Or if it doesn't squeak, just let me tell you.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, go.
Mark, you know something? We have a big problem. People jaywalking. Big time. I mean, I drive through town 10 times a day, and people don't really give a damn. I stop, fuck this, use the crosswalk. They just tell me. And it's a young kid, a young wife with 2 kids. And she ought to know the goddamn rules. Thanks.
Wow. That audio's all messed up.
Yeah, it's hard to do that through that way.
Yeah.
He was talking about the crosswalks downtown and how.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So, it is. I noticed it myself, and I've spoken to a few people myself and asked them to kindly use the sidewalks. But a lot of what I've seen, which is even more troubling, he alluded to a woman with 2 young children. I saw a guy carrying his small son in his arms, and he kind of took off from the crosswalk over by Prudential Hughes, but then cut an angle over toward the Market Grill instead of following across. And I couldn't understand the rationale behind that. That was not only unsafe, it was a foolish move, especially this time of the year.
So we have some grant money that we can use for that purpose specifically. So we'll get that posted, and we'll encourage the officers to sign up for some of those details. One of the issues is that we're so short-handed right now. A lot of the officers are working, I'll call it mandatory overtime. They're having to come in early or stay later to cover the gaps in the shift. And so a lot of them are working, an extra 15 or 16 hours a week, and they don't necessarily want to sign up for these extra grants. It's just unfortunately, it's bad timing. But we understand Commissioner Balboni's concern, and we'll get at it. So moving on, Mr. Chairman, to the budget analysis. As the PD moves from the end of the second quarter into the third, I have some good news and I have some bad news regarding the overall PD budget. The good news is that we are no longer 1% overspent in the budget, but are rather 0.301% underspent. What this really means is that between all 3 budgets, we only have a buffer of approximately $6,000. This is due primarily to the...
No, I'm sorry. It's just unsettling to me to only have that kind of between 3 budgets to only have that kind of that kind of buffer. That's all.
This is due primarily to the removal of $17,000 by the Budget Committee in January 2020 and the unforecasted requirement to fund 2 of our recent officer buyouts from the PD. This was unforecasted. This has forced us into some stringent budgetary constraints, which have unfortunately had an impact on officer and dispatcher morale, as one can only imagine. Though I expect the PD to continue with our funding guidance well into the third quarter and most likely into the fourth, I believe as long as we have no further major unforecasted financial requirements, we will recoup these monies from hiring new officers, not obviously at the same pay rate. That's where the savings will come in. And by the middle of the fourth quarter, or approximately 30 October 2020, I expect that we will be recovered from that unforecasted requirement. And I will continue to keep the commission informed. Gentlemen, the PD budget review sheets are in your packets and are provided for your review. Please take a long look at them, and I will be happy to address any lingering questions. Overall, I think we're doing well as can be expected, and there are only a few major cost overruns at this point. But as I said earlier, we are underspent by only approximately 0.301%. Gentlemen, subject to your questions, that's all I have. If you have any questions on the budget, now's the time, gentlemen. Again, just for the sake of the public out there, just let me explain. last month, we were about 1% overspent on the budget. Right now, we're underspent, but not by a whole lot. So we have between the police department budget proper, the dispatch budget, animal control, we're showing an unexpended appropriation of approximately $6,000 or so. Of course, we have expenses and bills that need to be paid and so forth and so on. Now, fortunately, some of those are forecasted. The vast majority of them are forecasted, but some aren't. Some aren't. And for example, we had 3 mobile radios. These are radios that go into cruisers fail this year, and we have to purchase those. We need police radios to be able to talk and communicate and move and shift resources around through the town of Wolfeboro. And without that, we can't effectively do our job. So unfortunately, we have to replace those. When those radios fail, they have to be replaced. A lot of our radios are in excess of 20 years, in excess of 20 years old. So failures and so forth are things that unfortunately occur. This year, they seem to be occurring more readily than in past years. So the good news is that we're slowly recovering. The bad news is that I don't expect to be fully recovered until the end of October. Folks, subject to your questions, that's all I have.
Okay. Bob, you have anything?
No, I'm good.
Commissioner
There.
O'Brien?
Well, the other thing I was questioning is there any difference
Commissioner
between last year and this year on monies that were coming in from the variety of sources that are provided by the department to the town? Are we okay, or is there any?
So that's actually a great question. So you're talking about revenues, right? And the
Yes.
Wolfeboro Police Department, yes, the Wolfeboro Police Department does. We do bring in a what I would consider a substantial amount of revenue in a whole variety of different things. And so one area that we won't be seeing as much money as we have in the past is from SAU 49. That's the funding of the school resource officer.
Yeah.
And as you know, when we have an officer physically serving in the school, that they're paying for that. They're paying for that officer and essentially those benefits at that moment. When that officer's not in the school, they're not paying for that. In March, I received a phone call from the superintendent, Kathy Cuddy Egbert, who said, "Look, we're going to be closing school. We're sending Officer at that time, Officer Llewellyn, back to you, and that means that as he's no longer going to be assigned to the school, we're not going to be reimbursing you for his hours." And of course, that's what the contract says. We fully expect that. So in that regard, we're going to be a little bit short, not a whole lot short, but we're going to be a little bit short in what we normally see in SAU 49 monies. We don't see that in our budget. That goes back to the town's general fund. And then, the town then does whatever it is that they do with those monies. I'm not really sure. But we don't see it. We'd never see it in the PD, though we know what it is. And it's important to recognize that because it does offset to some extent the tax base for the following year. With that being said, we did receive an Attorney General's grant that we hadn't received in years previous to deal with COVID-19. So we have some additional monies coming in from that. And then we got some plus up from highway safety for some highway safety funding. But that's essentially, I think, it in a nutshell. So this year, I think there'll be less money, Bob, in terms of police revenue that the town realizes. But I guess that's the bad news. The good news is it's not really that much. It's not going to be that much of a decrease.
Yeah, Chief Joe's got a question for you, if you can hear.
Hey, Chief, let me ask you a question. These radios are so old, 20 years old. Why don't we put them in the budget?
Did you get that, Chief?
Yeah, I did. So Joe, we did put budget for one radio in the budget, and that was a planned expenditure, but we typically don't rotate the radios out based off of years of service. We rotate them out when we start to have problems. Unfortunately, the radios didn't show any indication of failing. They just failed. They failed very quickly. Does that answer your question?
No, it doesn't.
It does not?
How many bad radios we have that we should replace?
So I could probably answer that question too.
Yeah, go ahead.
So John, I'm just gonna put you on that. So basically right now, all we have is 2 more radios that are the old Motorola's, and those are the only 2 that need to be changed out, other than the new cruiser that should be, they said 8 to 12 weeks that is coming right now, but there's a new radio going into that one for this year. So really we only have 2 more replacements. One's in my cruiser, and one's in one of the patrol cruisers right now, but that's all we have left is 2.
And we budgeted, Joe, for the replacement of one of those radios for next year.
Yeah, I lost them on my end, so I'm hoping that answers.
So yeah, that was a good question. So just let me address that real quick. You know, you may be able to get 20 years out of these radios. You may be able to get 30. Some stuff you may only be able to get 10 years. Typically, we have some indication that a radio is failing. A good example would be the radio that was in the K9 cruiser that was showing indications of failing for a number of years. We programmed that for replacement. Those monies came in, we replaced it. These ones failed with no indication. They just stopped working altogether. So that became the issue.
Yeah, gee, he's got another one. Joe's got one more.
Hey, Dean, let me explain something to you. This, you know, this new generation, you know, all these things have changed. Why are we going to buy one? Buy 2. What are they screwing around with?
We'll be happy to put 2 radios in the budget.
I know you're laughing at me, but I tell you, if I was in your shoes, you know, I want the best for the PD. We don't have the best. We got to get the best.
You copy that?
Yeah.
So, Dean, in answer or in continuing Joe's line of questioning, if you buy a new radio, what's the turnaround time to receive it and get it installed? Is it something that house, or does it have to be done at OME or Lily Pond or what?
So I can answer that for you too. They actually come up to our building and install it. So the turnaround to order and get them up here is, Sherry, do you think 2 months or a month and a half? Sounds right? Yeah. So they're going to do 2 of them in one day. They're coming up on the 27th of this month.
And if we have, at the end of the year, if we have any unexpended appropriation, or we have enough unexpended appropriation, that might be something we could do as an end-of-year purchase and either buy 1 or 2 and get them scheduled to have them installed. Now, that will be obviously subject to vote of the commission. But we could look at doing that. That is definitely an option.
Okay. You said there's only 2 old radios remaining, Mark?
Yes, 2 currently right now, yeah. One's in mine, which is good. So if it goes, it doesn't really affect the patrol division. There's only 1 more in patrol.
Okay. Anybody have anything else? I'm gonna check here. I don't believe we have a selectman's rep on board. No. Anybody from the press, so we can dispense with that. So if we have no other business before us, at this time, I would entertain a motion to enter the non-public session of the RSA 91-A:3. And that will be on paragraph D, consideration of pending claims or litigation. Do we have a movement on that motion?
I move that we go from regular session to non-public.
Commissioner Balboni, second?
He said, second. He said,
Okay. And I'll poll the commission. Commissioner O'Brien,
Yes.
Commissioner Balboni,
Yes.
I heard him that. And Commissioner Wood is the yes also. We stand in recess while we swap over to non-public session.
Wanda, you like
all right.
that?
Let's see here.